Hello, my name's Liz Rowlinson from A Place in the Sun, and I'm here with Ben and Zoe Atwood, the Able team at Sirhant, in Florida. Hello, both of you.
Morning.
Hey Liz, how are you?
Oh, I forgot it's your morning and my afternoon, but yes,
Of
all
course.
is good. So we're here to talk about why now is a smart time to invest in Florida. Um,
Yes.
and we've only got around 40 minutes or so to talk about that. I'm sure you could talk about it for a lot longer. But
Yes.
first up, Ben and Zoe, tell me about just briefly your background in Florida and what you do.
Sure.
Yeah, we've been in Florida for 13 years. We're both realtors. I'm also a mortgage loan originator, and we've been helping folks buy, sell properties over here for pretty much all that time. And we attend a Place in the Sun exhibitions several times per year.
Brilliant, yes, and do some webinars. Well, actually, in live seminars with me at those. So
You do, yes.
tell me what are you going to be covering in this session, Zoe?
Well, we thought what we wanted to take people through was why now is a smart time to buy in Florida. There is definite positivity over here in Florida that I don't know is necessarily being felt many other places in the world. So we wanted to talk a little bit about that. We wanted to let people know about the opportunities that are out here that they could take advantage of, and also some of the pitfalls, because we do see some pitfalls, and we wanted to make sure people were aware of that. And then what does a UK buyer really need to know before they make any kind of purchase in Florida? And then finally, how we can actually help any buyers that are looking to purchase a property, how we can try and save them some money.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Yeah, we'll hope to sort of demystify the process, which in actual fact is actually quite simple and transparent compared with certain European countries, which I regularly deal with as well. So let's talk about why Florida's booming. I mean, we all it's hard to escape what's happening with Trump and everything, but why, what's it we hear about what the impacts abroad, but what's happening in the US?
Well, it's very positive here. People are still buying. There's still a lot of construction. There's still a lot of pull into the Orlando area. Epic, Universal Epic has just opened. Disney's
Mhm.
expanding. The cruise terminal, Cape Canaveral, is now one of the largest cruise terminals in the world. Space Coast, there's lots of activities almost every week to do with NASA and
Yeah.
space rockets, if you like. So there's a lot of pulls to bring people into the area. And if you just go out and about to the parks or when we have any downtime, it's busy outside and it's a very upbeat, positive feel.
I think one of the differences, Liz, for Florida particularly, is it's in a unique position. It is a tourist state. So the whole economy is driven by tourism, and it's something it does very well. And also, with it being a state as part of the United States, it actually has the domestic migration coming down into Florida as well. It has the international pull, like Ben said, all the different things we've got going on in Florida right now. So there's a lot of infrastructure in there in place already to drive that tourism, and that makes it very busy. Obviously, jobs are created, housing is needed, and investment is key.
So a lot of our clients are from in state, so they're from other parts of Florida, because Florida, don't forget, is as big as England, pretty much. So they might be coming from Miami or they might be coming from Tallahassee. Then we have from other states all over the United States, and then we have the international clients.
Yeah, I funny if I read a piece in the FT saying the US tourism slump that never happened, and actually, although Europe, I think international visitors have dropped off a little, the domestic tourism is vibrant, and I think for Florida itself, I think they're sort of records, aren't they?
Oh, yeah. I
Yeah,
mean, we've just had our best quarter two on record. I
Mm,
think it was something like 34.4 million visitors that came through in quarter two. I mean, that's a huge number.
yeah.
And they've all got to have a piece of property to stay in. There are, of course, hotels, but a lot of people are still looking to have a short-term vacation property that they can stay in, and hence why that's still such a good option for
They
people.
want to enjoy their own pool.
Right. Yeah. Rather than having to share any kind of like communal facilities, to have your own property with your own pool at the back and deck, particularly for families, I think it works
Yeah,
very well for them.
yeah.
You know, little kids, you've been in Disney all day. You don't necessarily want to be stuck in your hotel room. It'd be lovely to have that space where you can put your children to bed, and then you've got that deck and pool and often a very pretty sunset to enjoy whilst you relax.
Yeah.
Moving on to the rather less romantic idea of tariffs, how did that affect the market in Florida?
Well, we were nervous because it was announced very quickly, and we thought there might be a few issues. But realistically, it was kind of mentioned for a week or two, and since then, no one really talks about it here. If you're buying new construction, and there might be a supply chain issue, but typically with a resale property, most of them are turnkey. You're not reliant on any construction or building supplies or anything like that. So the actual day-to-day impact we've experienced was, no one really talks about it anymore.
It's funny this, because we're originally from the UK and obviously live here now. We've got the benefit of knowing both cultures, and we know that Trump is a very divisive character, and so we tend to not really kind of comment on him in terms of any kind of politics. But in terms of what we see on the ground, what we can report to you is that actually it's not, I think, as bad as it's being necessarily made out. Media likes to have a drama and a whirlwind about it, but actually what we're seeing on the ground is really quite different. Like Ben said, it was kind of a flash in the pan type feel to it. Everybody got a bit excited for a while, but we're seeing gas prices down, price of eggs is down, inflation is down. It's positive. The economy is doing well, and in fact, here the governor is so happy with the way that the economy is in Florida and all of the tourist taxes that they're bringing in from the tourism. He's actually talking about reducing or abolishing property taxes. So the property taxes are like our council tax back in the UK. So he's actually talking about abolishing or reducing the property taxes. So that's going to be fabulous. That's going to be even better for people to buy.
It's a huge incentive for an investor. They're going to buy a property that's going to cost them, their ongoing cost is going to be less.
Yeah, and I mean, you already have the incentive of the no sort of estate personal income tax as well, don't you there?
Correct.
That's a big draw.
Yeah.
So, and just before we move on to sort of opportunities, what about property prices? Are they sort of static? I mean, I'm here in London where things are going a bit south, but I'm sure yours is better.
They've dropped a little bit this year, but everything we hear and read, it suggests that the prices are going to start going back up again. So that's why we're saying now is a good time to buy, because houses right now we're able to secure really good deals, but we think those deals will start to disappear over the next 6 months. So that when we get into 2026, we think house prices will be higher than they are now, and therefore people may feel that they've missed out. We're trying to get that message across that now is a really good time to buy.
Okay, great. Well, let's talk about opportunities. I think, Ben, you've alluded to new build. I mean, how should you buy a resale or a new build? What do you sort of advise there?
Well, right now new builds are a little higher priced than resales, so we don't see as many new build investors as we once did. And also with a new build, you've then got to work out how you're going to furnish it and how you're going to, if you want to rent it out, you'll have a lead time until you can get rentals in there. Whereas if you buy a resale, where we're able to secure a better deal, it might come furnished, it might be turnkey, it might have rentals, you can really hit the ground running. So you could close on a property today, or complete, as I should say, in the UK, and tomorrow be earning your dollar straight away. There's no lead in time.
Yeah, because a lot of the properties in the communities in Florida I regularly write about, they're not really old. They're relatively contemporary. So when you're comparing buying an old wreck in Italy or Spain, it's nothing like that. They're in quite good nick.
Yeah, we're talking 23, 24 years old, something like that. We're not talking 240 years old, no.
I think it's something that struck us this summer. In fact, we had our holiday time was across in Europe, and we toured over a couple of European countries. There was something that really kind of came back to us, was that thought of how new Florida is, but also how well kept it is. It's really quite pleasant because everything is clean, everything's modern, the land of convenience, of course. But it's got this real kind of nice, safe, modern, well put together kind of feel to it that makes you feel it's a little bit more salubrious, a little bit more nicer feel to it here for sure.
Yeah, we won't try and compare service cultures because you're going to win
No.
every day on that one. But cheap isn't always smart, though, is it? We're talking about deals. I mean, how, that's something to sort of consider, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, Zoe and I were talking about this earlier. I used an analogy of an old car.
Mm.
So you could buy a banger and it's going to be cheap, but you may be in and out of the repair shop if it ever works at all. But you might be better to buy, a named brand car that's got a bit more reliable history. That it might cost you a bit more at the outset, but it's it's going to be reliable for the duration of your ownership, so that you're not going to be worrying, is it going to break down? So yeah, you could buy cheap here, but most people want a sensible rental return. To get a sensible rental return, you do need to spend, we're not talking hundreds of thousands, but we're talking a reasonable sum.
Well, to give it some kind of range, I think people would want to know kind of what prices we're talking about, right?
Yeah.
So we see people say, what can you get for $200,000, $300,000? Well, for that kind of price point, you're going to be in the territory of looking at maybe a condo, so like an apartment, a townhouse, so like one of our detached, sorry, forgive me,
a muse style.
a muse style,
Yeah.
yes, a terrace, I meant, sorry. Something like that. And those properties are good properties, but if you're thinking about renting them out, then they don't always rent as well as a detached property, which they call a single family home here. To get that single family home that's going to rent, if that's what the end purpose is, then really a good price point right now is somewhere between kind of 400,000 and 500,000,
Yeah.
really, isn't it?
And then you can go wherever you want to go, but you're not having to spend millions to get that. It's
Yeah.
400 minimum.
Yeah.
Most of our buyers are in the 400 to 500 bracket.
Yeah, I think if you try and go cheap, at the moment, I would say that was under 400,000. You might get the odd good deal, but you're going to
Yeah.
wait longer to see it come on the market. You're going to battle as a buyer with older properties, more wear and tear. And then as you go through that buying process, part of it is the inspection, which is like our survey, where a third party, licensed party, professional comes in and does the inspection on the property. You might find then that you're getting, issues with the house, maybe things like the AC is on its last legs or the pool pump doesn't work, things like that, that are going to cost you. So whilst you've gone underneath and tried to get a cheaper property, you're actually going to build in some wear and tear.
We have found a few diamonds in the rough recently. We're helping a few buyers right now secure properties under 400. But then if you secure something for 375 or something, and then all of a sudden it needs a new roof, new systems in place, it's another 60,000. You're at 430, 440 already. You'd be better buying a house at 425,000 where everything's done.
Indeed. And doesn't also some of that price come down to location? Because you don't want to, if you want to rent it out, it's got to be in the right location, right?
Correct.
Right. Yeah. And again, another pitfall that can happen. We unfortunately have heard of people who've bought with other realtors and have come back to us and said, we bought this house and now it's not renting out. It all comes down to the location, you're right. And it's all to do with the zoning. So as people look on the market, they will find cheaper property. And very often, they will flag it up with us and say, hey, what about this house? And on the surface of it, it might look a very nice house and everything's looking good about it.
Yeah.
But then when we see where the address is and where the location is, it's not within a short-term rental area. And so they just simply wouldn't be able to rent it out. So whilst you're getting the cheaper price, there's often a reason as to why it's cheaper. So definitely you have to be key to that. The way we work is that anybody that works with us, if they say to us it's a second home, then obviously we don't need to worry about the zoning and the rental areas. But if they're telling us it's a rental property, then that makes it easy for us because we know exactly where those rental areas are and what will work and what won't work.
Yeah.
Great. Two questions on that. So they should be upfront with you about, and they should know whether they want to rent it out at some point, even if, not necessarily right now.
Correct.
Yeah.
So if there's any thought in their mind to rent out, we would make sure they buy in an area where they can rent out. But if they're absolutely 100% certain they're never going to rent out, and some people come to us and say, this is just our place in the sun, so to speak. We can help them buy anywhere. So we don't necessarily have to worry about the rental zoning.
It's funny, Liz, sometimes people don't understand that you can rent these properties out. And so very often when we come to the place in the get my teeth in today, place in the sun shows that they will say to us, oh, I don't want to rent it out. And we say, well, that's fine, that's okay. And as we get talking, we might, say, if you were to rent it out, this is what that would look like. And as we kind of introduce them to the concept, then you can see people softening sometimes, going, well, okay, tell me about it. Now, it doesn't matter to us whether they rent it out or not. But I think the point I want to make here is that don't close your mind to renting it, because it's such a good investment area, that very often people will get their second home. They will come and use it for, a couple of weeks, couple of months even in the year. And then the rest of the time, why just let it sit dormant? You might as well rent it out. You might as well get that rental return. It's going to pay for those outgoings. And our owners do a lot of different things. We see people that have their lockup cupboards in the properties where they've got their own bed linens, for example. So when they come into town, they get their bed linens out and they put them on the bed, so it feels like their bed rather than a bed somebody else has been in. So there's lots of other different ways that we can make it feel more personal to them rather than a rental property.
Yeah, actually, most of the people I interview through your buyers or others, they all rent them out because it's a bit of a no-brainer, I think,
Right.
So, and British people don't always have the time to travel, for so many weeks to Florida. So tell
Yes.
me, you can make an exclusive deal with a travel a rental or travel agency, can't you? Is that one of the things that you help people with?
We personally have an exclusive deal for our buyers.
Ah,
Generally, people can rent the property out, and they can do that in lots of different ways. They can have their own website, they can do the booking platforms like Verbo, Home and Away, Booking.com, Airbnb. They can connect with different travel agencies. Not all travel agencies will connect direct with an individual owner. And so Ben and I have actually made a connection with a local rental agency, a trusted partner of ours. And what we did, we actually said to them, we know you have this surplus of bookings, so why don't you tell us where you want these properties? So if people were to buy with us, we have a list now of, I think there's about 10 different communities on there.
Yes.
That they've literally said, if somebody buys in these communities, we then will be able to put this amount of bookings in there. And we had a meeting with them the other week, didn't we? And they were saying it was going to be a minimum of $60,000 worth of bookings that would be put into the property. And that was a minimum. So they then would work from there on up.
Yeah.
Well, that's a good number as a minimum already. So it's not to be sniffed at.
no, I think you mentioned to me, and that's one client got even over that, 70 or something.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, but the
Yep.
60 is the baseline, and then if there are gaps in the calendar, they can supplement it wherever they want to get their bookings from, friends, family, work colleagues. It's their calendar. They can see where then they can fill the gaps.
Yeah, and they can still come and have their own personal use. It's not as if,
No.
their house is going to be usurped. They still are in control. They say when they want to come and have their time in the house, and then the rest of the year, then it would be rented out as much or as little as they wanted.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've rarely talked to anyone in Florida who's struggled to get lots of weeks. It's generally been the opposite, where they struggle to find any weeks that they can then keep spare for themselves. It's because it's so all year round, isn't it? It's
Correct.
so it's hard not to make it work. But
Yeah.
got a
Yeah.
lot to cover off. So let's talk about if this all sounds very enticing, what do people need to know before they dive in and buy a property?
First important question is, can they afford it? So we can help them with whether they can afford it. So if it's cash, obviously they need to have enough for the house purchase and their closing costs. If they need finance, it would be sensible to speak with a mortgage loan originator, someone like me, who can give them an idea of what their budget can be. Because over the years, we've helped people who've had a pleasant surprise and a bad surprise. We've had folks who thought they could buy at a certain level, and there's been something in their situation which has kind of either said they can't do it or has reduced their budget. But conversely, we've had people who thought they were at a certain level, but we've been able to boost that level. So rather than being in the townhome that Zoe mentioned before, all of a sudden they're in a single family home. And they're thinking, wow, this they never. So it would be helpful to establish a budget before you start.
And one of the great things that we offer to the people that work with us is, with Ben being a mortgage loan originator, he can do a free exercise with any buyer, and that's the pre-qualification exercise, meaning that any buyer that is interested and thinks that they might be able to use a US mortgage, then they complete a very straightforward 3-page form with Ben. It fills out really simple stuff, just things like assets, liabilities, debts, that kind of stuff. All goes to Ben, very confidential. He works through it then and then figures out in US mortgage terms whether they could be approved or not. And usually it's a green light. We don't have any.
Yeah, the worst thing we ever want is for a family to come over and, you know, really like a house, really want to move forward on a house. And on the final day, they think they've got the house, only to be told that, terribly sorry, you can't afford this.
Yeah.
We would much rather set the expectation that, you know, before they come, before they get on a plane and spend thousands of dollars flying over here, that yes, it is realistic they could buy a house for 450,000, and all the kinks that they may think they will experience are ironed out very quickly.
I think the other part of that, Ben, is that because the system here goes so quickly compared to the UK, that is actually one of those things that's really good for any potential buyer to do first up, whether they're buying now or in a couple of years, because I think what it does, Liz, is it gives them an idea of whether it's possible or not. Like Ben said before, even you were filming just before Christmas with A Place in the Sun in Florida. And one of the couples that was working with A Place in the Sun, and Ben was assisting as the realtor, they didn't think that they could do this. And it was only through having a conversation and doing that pre-qualification exercise. And they're very kind to us and gave very glowing reviews and said very clearly that but for having that conversation, they would never have known that they could do it. And that's part of the reason why we do this, because it is a wonderful thing to do. It's a wonderful thing to have a property in Florida. And it's a shame that people think they can't do it. So it's always nice just to test the water and check, and it might be a pleasant surprise.
Yeah, and as we've referenced, it is a very it can be a very quick process. You know, in the UK, the backlogs conveyancing is taking ridiculously long at the moment. So I think it's going to be it's a massively refreshing change, but it's having assuming there are no glitches, and that's why it comes down to having the right people help you.
Correct. We've experienced the UK housing market over here. We've had a couple of deals where it was dependent on a UK property selling, and we've been surprised at how backlogged the UK market is, because we then have to deal with the surprise on the UK buyer where they see, wow, it really does happen in 3 weeks over here. So it's again, it's a conversation and meeting expectations.
Well, if it's a cash purchase here, typically it can be done, I think, as quick as a week is the quickest we've ever done it. But typically it's about 2-3 weeks if it's a cash deal. If it's a US mortgage, then it will take somewhere between 4 weeks to 6 weeks. So even at that, still very much quicker than I know what we have in the UK. So I think that's something we would want people to know, that it can go quite quickly. So it's great to get yourself prepared. And everybody we meet at the Place in the Sun shows, they're all very good and they do the research and come asking the questions. And that's exactly what it's about.
Yeah, and costs are something to consider as well, in terms of, I think the purchase costs are quite low. And could you give us a ballparks for that?
Yeah, if you're buying with a mortgage, I always recommend you budget for 5% of the price for your closing costs all in. Sometimes there might be something unforeseen that just tips it a little bit higher, but usually it's lower than that 5%. So if you can budget for 5%, that covers everything. That's with a mortgage. Now, if you're cash, a lot of the costs fall away because they're lender related. It's really just your searches and your title documentation. You're probably talking, less than 2% of the price if you're cash, and that's being high and conservative. It should be way less than that.
Ben likes to play a little game with himself, Liz. When we deal with people, he likes to give a cost estimate at the beginning of the process. and sets it all out for them and sets out a line itemization. And then at the end of the contract and we get to the closing, invariably we have a little giggle between us because invariably he'll say, "Oh, do you know what the closing costs were?" And I go, "No, what?" And he'll say whatever the figure is, and the figure is within like $1 or $10 of what he said at the beginning. So very, very accurate. We're able to be really quite accurate. There are some unforeseen things sometimes, but we'll always, raise a flag to that if we think that's going to come along. But typically, we can be quite precise with what the closing costs are going to be.
Yeah, yeah.
Brilliant. And we talked about the mortgage, so you're kind of like a one-stop shop in terms of the mortgage, finding the mortgage, getting the advice, and then once you've purchased, setting them up with a rentals management deal.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
But we've done this now for years and years and years, as you know. We've worked together many a time, and over those years, we've learned who the good guys are, who the bad guys are, and we are able to do a one-stop shop service. So as Ben said before, he does the real estate. He's associate broker here at Sirhands, and also does the mortgages. And then I'm also a licensed salesperson here at Sirhands on the real estate side of things, but also I run my own rentals company as well. So between us, we have a breadth of knowledge built up over years now. We also can set people up with property management. Anybody that's looking to perhaps emigrate over to Florida, we've been able to help them historically. So anything that typically people are looking to do with respect to Florida, whether it be a second home, move here, investment, come to us. We'd love to help you out.
Brilliant. And I mean, part of that is giving people an idea of whether they should negotiate on the price, isn't it? I mean, you've Ben, you alluded to some opportunities. I mean, can you give me any examples of how that works?
Yeah, so recently we've got a couple of deals under contract and we've closed a couple of deals recently. One of the deals we were able to secure 35,000 off the top, another one 54,000 off the top, and another one it was off. We secured the deal at price, but post inspection we were able to secure a $20,000 seller credit towards repairs. So yeah, there's always wiggle room on every deal until we get into the detail. We don't know how much wiggle room there is, but yes, we were able to negotiate hard and get the best deals for our buyers.
I think that comes down this to Ben and I. We used to be lawyers when we were in the UK, so negotiation and advocacy, that side of things, really doesn't phase us at all. And we think about it very much in the same respect, don't we? That's who we look after, our buyers. We represent them, and that if they say to us that they want something out of a deal, we'll go and do it. Ben, you've just done one now where the buyer had said to us that they not only wanted all the furniture in this house, that they also wanted the H2 Hummer, they wanted the speedboat, and they wanted the golf buggy and the 2 jet skis. And initially we kind of went, okay, but then
I thought he was reaching for the stars. Fortunately, we were able to do it for him. He got the house and he got all the vehicles and the toys and everything in the house.
And under price
for a significant discount. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Brilliant. I guess, I mean, that was an extreme example, but some people, they are just, it almost, they don't necessarily with a sort of a holiday property. They're quite happy to make they don't want to get rid of all the contents and stuff. It's brilliant as it is.
Right. Yeah. Turnkey. You want to close on a Friday and know it's renting from Saturday, and you don't have to do anything with it, because typically how it works out is people are here to view the house, but by the time they close, they've gone back to the UK, so they're not here. So that a question I was asked yesterday was, well, who does all this? We've got people. It's not necessarily us, but we've got people who do it. So you don't have to worry about it from 4,000 miles away. We've got boots on the ground.
Great. I mean, just flipping a bit back to mortgage rates at the moment. Can you just talk about what they are, Ben, in terms of
Sure. For a foreign national, you're around about 8.75 for a 30-year fix. Standard. Now, I work with multiple lenders. That's typically the best rate right now because I shop every day for people. But we have got another guy who will actually offer us a preferred rate because he's seen what we've been doing over the years, the caliber of the buyers, the fact that they're solid, So he's able to reduce that down by maybe more than 1%. So it's rather than being in the 8s, it's in the 7s. So that then puts money back in people's pockets to do other things. And then when you add what Zoe mentioned before about the property taxes, we've got cheaper mortgage options, hopefully lower property taxes, and then we're negotiating deals. All of a sudden, that's why Florida is an attractive proposition for people.
Indeed. And presumably you can put people in touch with tax people to advise on, how the income tax on their rentals. And I think some people are a bit sort of think it's going to be quite an alien process, which it is.
Yeah, well, we've got many tax advisors who we can put people in touch with, and then it's up to the individual who they like to work with, and we leave it. We don't touch taxes. We touch a lot of things, but we try not to touch taxes.
Well, I think the taxes is a difficult word, isn't it? A lot of people are scared by taxes, but actually in Florida, we have no state income tax. There's obviously have to declare it at federal level.
Yeah.
But anybody that's renting a property, they're going to be earning their rental income per night. But then also the sales and tourist tax is charged in addition to that. But if you think about it as a wash, because what you charge per night plus your tax, then when it comes to declaring that tax, you're going to be paying that tax back out. So your guest is effectively paying that tax. You're going to declare it and you keep your rental income. So the taxes we see on the ground, again, our owners don't necessarily pay an awful lot of tax, very little, because the other great thing, of course, is if you are going to use it as a rental property, you then can discharge a lot of that tax liability by the expenditure. For example, this is a great one people often don't know, is that even when you come and look at properties in Florida for the first time, we always tell our people, keep your receipts, keep it all, because you can put that in, because you were having to come and do a recce tour. You had to come have a look.
Costs of acquisition.
Well, I was going to say also, this reminds me with interviewing one of the a very happy owner of a holiday let, was that there was a huge long list of everything you could deduct from it, so that she said she was paying virtually no tax in the end.
Correct.
But one of the things was inspection visits to go and check on her property and maintenance.
Yes.
So that's another one.
Yes. A great personal sacrifice. All those people are thinking about buying a property, they're all going to have to come over and inspect the property, and it will all be put away against the tax liability.
Yeah. So, well, look, gosh, there's so much to cover, but we're slightly running out of time. So I think we might whiz through some quick fire questions that we haven't covered off already.
We're ready.
Well,
yes.
I think we've covered off the fact that UK buyers can get US mortgages.
Correct.
Already. Yeah. Do I need a US bank account?
Not necessarily.
Not to buy a house, but in due course you will, because that's where your rental income will ultimately end up, and it may be where you pay your utilities from. But you don't have to have one to buy a house.
Okay. Where are the best areas near Disney for rental returns?
Well, very often, a lot of people will look in Davenport, Kissimmee, and Claremont. They're the three main areas. And again, going back to what we were talking about, the zoning. So if you want to rent it out, it has to be within that short-term vacation zoning area.
Right. Okay. Can I move to Florida?
Yes, Liz, you can.
How? Very briefly.
If you want to move here, you have to have a visa or a green card, and anybody with a regular UK passport can come for 90 days. You do your ESTA process for that. There are other visas that you can come and spend up to 6 months in any 12-month period, and they're called B1, B2 visas. And then if you want to come and live here on a more permanent basis, you can do such visas as an E2 visa, which is an investor visa, meaning you buy into a company here in America, and on the back of that, the government then would give you the visa to be able to work here. We've seen other people do L1 visas if they've got a company in the UK that's been operating for a year or more, that they can then transfer over and open up in the US. And obviously the embassy's got to stamp it and say they agree with that. Then they can have a visa on the back of that, or straight into green cards. But we have very good immigration attorneys that if anybody's got any of the questions on that, we can help with.
Fabulous. What's the number one pitfall for UK buyers in Florida?
Um,
Not asking questions, I would say, meaning that a lot of people will research online
yes.
and then will say, well, I thought it was this way. And it's just a tragedy because the times that we hear things and it's not that way at all. It's just bad information.
Yeah. The internet can be a good thing, it can be a bad thing. And so getting the wrong information or listening to the wrong people it can be an issue, because then they might have a boatload of misinformation, which they draw the conclusion they can't buy in Florida. But the opposite is probably true, and they've just listened to the wrong people.
Okay.
Funny, there's the number of times we meet people at the place in the sun shows, we get talking, we tell them a little bit about what you can do in Florida. The number of people at the end say, we are so glad that we met you because we didn't know this was possible. And again, that's such a nice part of our job. So we always encourage people to come and ask. We're real people. You can feel and touch us and ask us questions. We'd be lovely to help people.
Brilliant. Now, can I buy remotely? I think that the answer is yes from memories of during the pandemic.
Correct. You spoke to us many times during the pandemic, so you remember the stories. Yeah, once upon a time, buyers had to be here physically on the US soil to buy. But certainly since the pandemic, yes, we've got owners. We have people who own homes here who've never actually been to the US. We did the tour by video link. The buying process was by calls and Zoom meetings, and the closing was done by a video conference call. And then subsequently, renting has been, it's just been. They've managed their own diary from the UK, and renters are being going in and out of the house with the management team helping them. So yeah, 100% you can buy remotely.
Okay, great. What's your best value buy on the market right now?
Oh, I've got a great one.
We've got a couple.
I've got a great one. I've got a 4-bed, 3-bath, single family home, so detached property with its own pool and spa. It's a south facer, which is going to get that sun all day long here in Florida. It's got no rear neighbors to it, and it's just about to go on the market for $450,000. And the great thing about it is that it's actually coming in with future bookings as well. So anybody that's looking to get that rental return, they've got it from day one.
It's fully furnished with a brand new roof, and all the systems have been recently replaced. So you would walk into this home and not have to do anything. That's Zoe's. Mine.
Right, you've got an even better one.
I've got a 5-bed property. It's not furnished. It's slightly cheaper, but if you want something where you want to put your own mark on it, you could make some decent money by just updating a bit of furniture, bit of paintwork. You could make decent money once it starts renting out.
You like yours because it's on a golf course. Great golfing
and actually,
here.
That spurred a quick question of mine is there like a sweet spot number of bedrooms for these type of rentals? Can you buy too big?
Yes, absolutely. And again, be careful, because the internet and no doubt some not so good realtors out there will tell you that you should be buying. I mean, they do houses here, Liz, now that are, 9-bed, 13-bed, 15-bed. They're like mansions. You don't need that. I think anything from a 3 to a 6-bed, so 3, 4, 5, 6-bed is really kind of the sweet spot, simply because it tailors to a number of different markets. So, the 3 and the 4-bed might be good for a family that have got a couple of children that are going to come out and rent the property. But then equally, you might have families that want to come together, a couple of brothers or sisters, their families, they're going to need a bigger house. So the 5, 6-bed might work better for them.
With enough bathrooms.
With enough bathrooms, right.
But also
yes.
the 4-bed could be 4 guys coming to golf.
It could be 4 girls.
We'll get golf in there again. And is it essential now when I see all these lovely villas? Do you have to have like a games room? Do you have to have a covered pool? Are these the sort of things that kind of you have to have to compete with the rest?
Yeah, I would say that a games room for sure. I think anybody that tries to do it without a games room is only going to struggle, because it's an obvious, isn't it? If you've got 2 homes that are virtually the same next door to each other, and one's got a games room, one hasn't. I think the games room has definitely become a stock solid.
The covered pool, it's really down to the maintenance side, because if your pool is exposed to the elements, you're going to have leaves and twigs, and it's not going to look as great. but if you've got it covered, it's going to look cleaner for longer.
Yeah.
But having a pool, definitely having a pool.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Great. Has the market peaked, or is there still room to grow? Well, I think you almost answered that already, didn't you?
Yeah, we think prices are about to go. If Trump is driving to reduce interest rates down here, and he keeps battling with the Fed to get them down, we feel, and the market feels, and all my colleagues who I speak to, as soon as the Fed drops the interest rates, there's going to be people who buying, because a lot of people have been waiting for it for so long. They're sitting on the fence. As soon as that happens, that's going to trigger the what's the word? The floodgate, and all those buyers are going to hit the market.
Yeah.
It's going to drive prices up. So that's why we're saying now is a great time to buy if you can.
We've had a lot of people, Liz, say to us about the rates and about trying to cheat the rates effectively. And we have sympathy for that, because everybody's always wanting the better deal. But I think the smart investor now is looking at what the rates are going to do and sees the point that Ben just made, that there is going to be this, opening up of the floodgates. And when that happens, that market's going to get flooded. There's going to be more choice. These sellers that are selling right now are going to have, more ability to negotiate. Right now is key. Right now is when we're seeing these great deals. So what a lot of people are being encouraged to do is to buy now whilst they're getting those good prices. And if that rate isn't the most palatable, well, you're not stuck with it. So maybe in a couple of years' time, you could then revisit it and you could refinance, but you would have secured that property at that great price.
And enjoyed the rental. And enjoyed the capital appreciation.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
So if you wait, which is the other thing, that that you'll have more competition and those deals won't be there.
Yes.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay. So what are the next steps for people to contact you if they like the sound of all that?
Yeah.
Well, hopefully they do.
Well, you can reach out to us. We are on email, so everybody's more than welcome to contact through my email if they wish, which is hopefully quite short and sweet and easy to remember. Zoe@serhant.com. Zoe spelled ZOE at Serhant, as we've got up here, SERHANT.com. So Zoe@serhant.com. Email away. You can find us on Facebook, we're on Instagram, we're on Twitter, all of the platforms at the Able Team. Sorry, the ampersand, the Able Team at Serhant.
Yeah, and then if there's any questions, we're happy to answer them on email. If anybody wants a face-to-face on Zoom, we're more than happy to schedule a Zoom.
All free of charge.
And then we are at Place and Sun in Birmingham. If anybody wants to come and see.
Brilliant. And just looking forward, you might be at exhibitions next year as well, perhaps, if people are not able to organize a trip. It's only a couple of weeks away, isn't it? So yeah.
It is.
Yeah. We'll be there. We've been pretty much all the shows, so yes, the plan is to continue going to the shows. Yes.
Brilliant. Well, I look forward to seeing you there, and hopefully some people that are listening. So thank you both so much. That's been really informative. Hope
thank you, Liz.
You're going to have lots of interested people coming to Florida.
Yeah,
we hope so. It's a wonderful place, and there's so much to do and offered here. So we'd hope very much so.
All right. Thank you. Bye.
Thanks,
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye for now.